Hey, mamas. Today we have a special guest joining us, Lori Arnold. She is the author of Heads Up Mom, and it fits perfectly with what you're used to around here. No judgment, a lot of wit, and a lot of good advice. So we are really excited to have Lori join us, and we're going to talk a little bit about her book. So, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I love talking to moms. It's become one of my favorite things to do.
Yes, speaking of talk a little bit about yourself. Let everybody know who you are, what your background is.
Yeah. So, as she said, I'm Lori Arnold. I am also a Midwestern gal. I grew up in Southern Indiana, not too far from Louisville, played quite a bit of soccer in Louisville, and then went to Purdue University, got a business degree there, played soccer as well. So that was fun. And then I started working in Cincinnati. So moved to Cincinnati, worked at Procter and Gamble for a number of years, and then followed my passion for a minute to the personal training space. So I love everything health, fitness, wellness, and did that for a short time. But it was about that time that I started my family. And so that definitely switched my life and switched my gears over to that. And after a while, decided that I needed to write a book.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, speaking of that, what was the inspiration for this book? Like anything in particular that sparked it?
Yes. I never pictured myself as someone who would write a mom book or be any kind of a mom influencer. That was never a goal I had. But after all those years spent in the baby space, moving in through the toddler space, the amount of struggle is hard to capture in words. I felt like it was every day was like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this so hard? Surely this can't be what motherhood looks like. And so I started reading all these books, right? Like sleep training, potty training, baby led weaning. I didn't realize how much tension would be placed on my marriage with my husband. I read How to Not Hate Your Husband After Kids, How to Raise Resilient Children, like all these things. And I just never found the resource that would help me as a mom understand what this massive transition was all about and what my life was going to look like day to day. And so I thought, I want to write the book I wish I had had at that phase of my life. And I hope to help other moms not feel all that struggle that I felt in those early years.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you wrote it. I wish that it was around like 15, 16 years ago when I first became a mom, because it does highlight on like a little bit of everything. And you're right, like there's nothing else out there like that. I mean, I'm a researcher, so I read tons of books, and everybody gives you the what to expect when you're expecting, but it's like, okay, so we made it through the pregnancy, like now what? My parents always said like there's no rule book or guidebook, like you just figure it out. And
Yes.
so I
I
think
feel
being
like
prepared is good.
there was no like 80 for the 20. So you can deep dive on discipline and read 5 books on discipline and listen to lots of podcasts on discipline, or you can deep dive into postpartum and struggles related to postpartum. You can deep dive into breastfeeding, like all these individual topics. And I'm like, just give me the general sense of what to expect across all these areas. So this book starts off with kind of emotions, and it talks about discipline. It talks about working with your husband. It talks about things you're just going to come across in your day-to-day mom life that you never thought you would. And then it's full of tips and tricks. The last 2 chapters are nothing but tips, tricks, strategies to try to help with this major transition. So
Yeah, I love that, especially like, okay, who's going to be responsible for what, and like figuring out like what's kind of the harder stuff. And I love that you kind of have that chart to break down like, okay, who wants to sign up for what so we can make sure that we both survive this.
yes, I would say that is the biggest thing that I was missing that I wish I had done with my husband early on, but anytime is better than none because I mean, we women notice, like we notice, we are nurturers by nature. And so I think I hear so many moms say, well, why doesn't he notice this? Why doesn't he do this? Why am I the one doing all this? And I'm trying to cut husbands a little bit of slack and say, I don't think a lot of times they even notice,
Yep.
but that means it's going to fall on us unless we have the conversation with them. So this book does have, and there's a digital download that goes with it. It's a
Hmm.
very detailed division of labor so that you and your husband can sit down and say, okay, who's doing what? And
Hmm.
it'll be really eye opening, I think, especially for him to realize how much you as a mom are carrying, and
Yeah.
maybe even that out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm really fortunate that I have a husband who's just always, he's always just noticed all those things. And I've never been one that was cut out to just be, what's the term that you use? But not stay at home mom. What's the term that you
Ah,
usually
yeah,
said?
champion mom. Yeah.
Yes, yes. To be at home, like I'm just not wired that way. Like I never thought that I would be a mom, and then once I was, I wouldn't change it for the world. I love her and invest everything into her, but I need space. I thrive with like working and succeeding, and that's just part of who I am and what my nature is. And my husband's always been very supportive of, okay, how do we balance out our careers and our community involvement, and how do we keep our daughter involved in all of that, and but also like if I'm going to be working, I can't do all the traditional mom wife stuff at home. And even when I went back for my master's degree, like he just stepped right in, like dishes, cooking, laundry,
That's
and
awesome.
I know, but like a lot of men don't like whether it's how they were raised or, just how their brain is wired, they just don't think about that stuff. So unless you're like, hey, I need help, like I can't do all of this, most of them don't know.
Yeah, I say in the book there's a continuum of, men and where they fall on kind of their recognition that things are changing and they maybe need to play a bigger role on the child care front or the home care front. And some men are, up in the early adopter phase and they're doing a great job and they just seem to understand it. And then some men are like laggards, like on the bottom of the scale, and they're just not there yet. And we need to help them in order to make our lives a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
in all honesty, my husband was on the laggard end of the scale, and he just is super traditional all the way through. And his job was very demanding and unpredictable. And so I think in his mind, he was like, okay, I'm taking care of the finances. Like, that's where my job stops. And I'm like, well, that's not working for me because parenting doesn't stop ever. And
Yeah.
so we had to have a lot of conversations around my career and what I wanted and how that was going to work, and his job and there's so many variables. And that's one thing I hope moms take away as well. Everybody is different. We hear that every child is different, which is
Yeah.
very true, but every family situation is different. And that means what works for you might not work for the mom down the street. And so I really try to encourage moms not to compare, which is so
Yeah.
hard when you're brand new. You're
Yeah.
new and you want to do it well and you're so invested and you just want to get it right and do the best for your kid. And so it's easy to look around and see what everyone else is doing, but everyone else has a very different set of circumstances that impact their motherhood journey. And it probably
Yeah.
is going to look different for you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you bring that up because, yeah, especially even with, the discipline and all that stuff, always heard a lot and talked about it a lot that the kids are all made different, even within the same family, every kid is different. But that's right. Yeah. And we've talked with our daughter, she's gotten older, like, well, this is our house, it's not anybody else's house. But I also kind of like that perspective that, like, you and your partner are not anybody else either. Like, I'm glad that you're not trying to like tell people how to do things. It's like, here's what to expect, and here's ways that you kind of navigate it and like do what's right for you. I love that perspective that you brought.
Yes, I hope moms take that away for sure.
So trying to stay on our little points that we had made. Yeah. So amazing book. However, for you never thought that you would get a book published. I had written a couple kids' books when my daughter was little, just on like manners and things that we couldn't find for her. So people have asked this, but you wrote a nonfiction book. Like, what was that process going through that?
Yeah, a learning one for sure. So I've always had an interest in writing, and so I started listening to podcasts of other writers just to kind of understand the landscape a little bit. And it became very clear to me. And I had actually worked with a guy back when I was at Procter and Gamble who showed me how to do a book proposal, and he had written a book and gone through the agent route and a traditional publishing route. And so I had some visibility to that, but it became very clear to me, if you want, and if you're me and you don't have a really large audience, a really large following, you're not super active on social media. It was not really a goal of mine to be an influencer per se. Unless you had a really large audience, it's very difficult to get an agent.
Mm.
And even then, with an agent, there's not a guarantee that you would get a book deal with a traditional publisher. I like to have control. Like, I have the idea in my head. I know what I needed as a mom. And so I want to bring that to life on the pages. And I don't necessarily want someone else coming in and changing things based on what they think would sell. So I made the decision to do the self-publishing route, which is so wonderful. There's so many good, they call indie authors these days. There's
Yeah.
so many wonderful tools and resources. So it was a learning process for sure. I took several master courses on nonfiction book publishing, nonfiction book marketing. Having a marketing background was also helpful for me. A lot of authors just want to write and they don't want to do the marketing piece. So that was a benefit to me that I had that background. But it was just bit by bit, piece by piece, figuring out, like, what's an ISBN number and how do I go get that? And what size should my book be? What kind of paper should I print on? Should I be wide or should I be exclusive with certain retailers? How do you go about formatting the book so that the words don't run into the crease? Like, there's lots of considerations, and it was just getting plugged into some associations and resources that could kind of guide me through that process.
Yeah, I mean, I think you did a really great job. So, I was gonna say all that research and digging in really, really paid off. So, I'm excited that we get to help kind of share that because, again, I think it's a resource that a lot of moms need or wish we would have had. So, I think
Yeah,
it's
that's the biggest piece of feedback is like, people are like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have read this when my kids
yes,
in the baby phase, or even when I was just expecting.
yes, we could have been prepared. So, out of the whole book, what is your favorite part?
My favorite chapter is called Moms Can Do Hard Things. And I think this was kind of what brought the need for this book to life for me. So I felt like there were so many days where I found myself saying, is this my real life? Is this happening right now? Is this real? And it's the things that kids do that you just would never expect. And so the chapter and the whole book, I really try to make it a balance between being very encouraging, very uplifting, but also very candid and real. And so in this chapter, I lay out bullet points by kind of age ranges of just things kids are going to do, things that situations you're going to find yourself in where you're going to say, oh my gosh. So, your kids are probably going to take some plastic cupcakes and put them in the oven. And you're not going to know that before you preheat the oven for dinner. They're going to make a concoction of Fruit Loops and glitter and put it in the freezer. And it's going to get down every crevice and crack. And you're going to say, why? Like, and those things happen all the time. So I love the chapter because it's kind of funny. It's real examples, but I think moms will leave that chapter feeling like, okay, this is normal. As abnormal as it may sound, this is normal. And when all these things happen to me, I'm not going to think I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to understand that it's just kind of part of the mom package when they're at this age.
Yeah, that was a really good one. So, all right. So just to wrap up, what is one of the biggest takeaways that you want moms to get from this book?
We hit on it a little bit, but I think it's this idea of intentionality. And I really want moms, once they read the book and have a really solid foundation of just what early motherhood looks like, baby to toddler, she then can start to make the best choices for her and her family, which should be different maybe from others that she is looking to. And there's actually space in the book for her to write ideas and comments. And I ask questions like, well, what kind of kids do you hope to have raised if you're 10 years down the road and you're looking back? How do you think you're going to get there? What do you want your financial picture to look like? What kind of involvement do you expect from your husband? And are you on the same page? And hopefully with just in motherhood, it's so easy to just say, oh, I just need to survive the day, right? It's kind of day to day. I'm just dealing with what's right in front of me. And the book provides an opportunity to say, okay, with a little bit of a bigger picture in mind, let's think about what kind of mom you want to be and what you think is needed in order for you to be that mom, rather than just kind of letting inertia take you through some of the chaotic days and things that happen.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful because I do love, I think it was towards the beginning that you wrote about the things that you just never thought you wouldn't have time for. And it reminded me of when I was pregnant and my grandma and I had had a conversation, and she said she had the same one with my mom about, you just can't find those 5 minutes to shave your legs. And my grandma was like, I told your mom that. And she said, yeah, you can always find 5 minutes. And then I was the first, and she called my grandma, I guess, when I was a baby. And she was like, those 5 minutes, I can't find them either. And so, it was a fun conversation, like hearing that about my mom and like talking to my grandma. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to like trust you. But you don't realize like you just don't have time for stuff anymore. And it is that like survival mode. And the intentionality part isn't something that I really picked up until my daughter was like 8 or 9 years old, is when it became that intentional focus. So I love that your book isn't just, okay, here's something for while you're pregnant or while you're trying to get a couple minutes to read, like, in between nursing or something, that you have that, where you can journal and write and also look back at like, oh, okay, I remember Loria wrote about this phase, like in the toddler years, or she wrote about, this, and just being able to like kind of come back to that book. If it's something I had at the beginning, I'm pretty sure it would have been like very well worn and well loved by this point.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so thankful. I've had a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to flip back to that, or I've already
Yeah.
revisited that piece. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful and thankful that you brought that up because it is, I hope too, moms take away the help piece.
Hmm.
We always say it takes a village, but so many moms don't have that village. And a
Yeah.
lot of us don't even have a handful of people that are able to step in and help. And so hopefully, again, if moms read the book and see, okay, this is what I have stepped into. This is the beautiful, yet messy and chaotic and unpredictable space of early motherhood. Let me line up some help, make sure that I have some support because I had moved to a new city. We didn't have grandparents around. My husband's job was very unpredictable and late hours and crazy hours. And so doing motherhood pretty much by myself is not something I would want any mom to try and do. So that would be another big takeaway, whether you read the book or not. If you're listening, moms, if you're in the early phase and you're feeling stressed, get the help, whether it's from someone at church, a neighbor, a mother's helper. Maybe grandparents can come in town for a weekend. Maybe you ask your husband to just do 1, 2, or 3 specific things, but it's so, so important.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And, that's what we try to do with the Mom Collective. I actually joined as a writer on Cincinnati's first birthday, which was, like 11 years ago or more now. And just finding, because I just felt like I didn't always fit in. I found out just this past year that I'm autistic, which makes so much sense.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, just now figuring that out. My goodness.
yes, like almost 40 and being like, oh, okay, like my entire life makes sense now. And my daughter too, and everything. But it was like, I just always, I knew I was different, but then I just felt like I can't find my people. And I had moved, my daughter was 3, and we had moved to Cincinnati, and I didn't know anybody but my husband's family and my dad that were here. And so just trying to tap in, like you said, to whether it's people around you or if follow along with, um, resources like on the Mom Collective sites that are all across the country, or in-person stuff. Like we've teamed up with some different like in-person places with that do like in-person things for moms and little events and moms nights out and stuff. So, trying to take whatever you can to, create your own village. Cause I mean, theoretically you could do it alone, but it's no fun and it's not the best. It's not going to be the best for you, for your kid, for anybody.
That's right. That's right. I know. And I'm more of an introvert, and so for me, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to mess up the nap time, and I'm like a very major defender of sleep, and
Yeah.
so I kind of needed to push myself to go out more because I
Hmm.
mean, moms are wonderful. Like when we meet other moms, they're understanding, they're kind, they want to help. They are probably, they're in your same life phase. And so they get it. You feel like you've found people who are kind of doing it with you, but you have to get yourself out there and you have to be willing to show up to some of those groups and meet new people. And once you do, it's so worth it. But I know for me, I'm like, oh, but nap time's here and I want to,
Yeah.
that's when I'm cleaning the toilet. So I can't mess up the nap time. And so just
Yeah.
getting out a little bit will pay off. It will pay off.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to force yourself, but once you're there, you're like, I'm so glad I came.
Yeah, that's me every time.
Yeah. So we will definitely link your website and how to get the book. But for people that are listening, what is your website and how do we find your book?
Yes. The website is Lori, Lori dash Arnold.com. So it's just my first and last name with a dash in between. The book is on Amazon. It's available in whatever format you like to read. So we've got print books, we've got ebooks, we also have audiobooks. They're all available on Amazon and everywhere that you like to get your books. So the audiobook is on Spotify and any of the other audio retailers. So yeah, I tried to make it to where people could get the book wherever they like to buy their books, including if you want to get it from your independent bookstore. I think it's on Booksy and some of those online sites that support those indie bookstores as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of busy mom life to chat with us and all that you've done to bring this book to everyone. And we really hope that it reaches a lot of moms because it's a really, really good resource.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is my goal. My goal is that people read the book and their life it's just a breath. It's just an exhale.
Yes.
It'll be an exhale and hopefully a comfort. And if anyone does read the book, I will make my shameless plug as a new author. Reviews are massively important. Everyone, I think you've probably been asked for reviews for products and things if you've
Oh,
been
yeah.
around. They really make a difference both for readers who are looking for new books, but also the algorithms that these
Mm.
companies look at. So if you have picked up the book, if you would take 2 seconds to review it wherever you bought it, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Shameless plug. Go right ahead. I was gonna say, yeah,
Thank you.
independent author. You definitely need all the help you can get. So,
Yes,
all right.
yes. Thank you so much for having me. I wish all the moms the most happiest Mother's Day.
All right. Thank you.